Okay, to make the Lullaby baby blanket, we are going to need some baby weight yarn or lightweight sport. Any of that will work. This is Bernat Baby Sport in baby blue, lots of babies. You can change the color, of course, but this is what I used for the picture, and we're going to use up some leftover making the sample. I am not going to make it as big as the actual finished blanket. I'm going to do just a shorter sample size so that you can get through the pattern a little quicker. But with that yarn, we're going to use 3.5 millimeter needles, US 4s. These are from Timu, and I have to say, I kind of love them. They came with the twisty cord, but I don't know, what do you call this? I'm calling it twisty cord. I am doing a shorter cord, but you'll want a 40-inch to accommodate all of the stitches that you'll be making. But these have just been really wonderful to work with. There's little flowers printed on them. The numbers are very easy to see. It's just, I was very surprised by this, and I'll link to this haul that I got these from so you can go watch that if you want. And then I'll also link the needles in the description if you want to check them out. But for the price, awesome needles. Then you're going to need a couple of stitch markers. I kind of like the smaller for the smaller needles, so I'll just grab a couple of those out of here. I'll probably use these green ones because you're going to use two of those to mark where your edges are. I love this row counter from an Etsy seller. I'll link this too. It's so satisfying with the click clicks. So I'm going to use this to keep track of where I'm at. And then, of course, some scissors and a yarn needle to leave in ends. And then lastly, you just need the pattern, which is below. So go get that and we will get started. But first, if you like free patterns, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so that you never miss out when they are released. Now back to the pattern. Okay, to get started, what you're going to do is cast on 146. What I'm going to do is cast on 32. So I'm going to do 2 stitch repeats and then our border. So that will be the same. You'll just have extra stitch repeats. So cast on 146. I'm going to do 32. I'm just doing a long tail cast on. That one works perfectly fine. If you have a favorite cast on, go for it. But let me get 32 and then we'll start our pattern. Okay, I've got 32. You should have 146 cast-ons. And now we're ready for our border. So these are going to be some setup rows. We're just going to knit for 11 rows back and forth. We're creating a garter edge so that it doesn't fold, roll, whatever. So we're going to just knit for 11 rows. This is where my handy dandy stitch counter is going to be super helpful. So I will see you on row 12, which we will set up our stitch markers to do our actual repeat and start the body of the blanket. But for now, just knit away for 11 rows and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, I've got all 11 rows done of our beginning border. So the next step is our setup row for our stitch markers. So what we're going to do is we're going to knit 9. So knit 9 stitches. And then we're going to place one marker. And then we're going to knit across till we get to the last 9 stitches. So if you want to put like a locking stitch marker here in the meantime, just so that you know you can count backwards and not have to think about it, that comes in handy. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you can place a stitch marker like that if you have one. And then you can just knit across without having to think about it or stop when you get close to keep counting. Here is my other spot. I'm going to put on my regular stitch marker. Like these are rubberized, so they kind of like, they don't make a lot of noise when they're on your needle, so I'll link those if those look interesting to you. But you should have 9 more stitches to knit. And these stitch markers are going to be your visual cue for your border because your border is going to be garter all the way around. So as you're working, you knit to the marker, that's your border, you have your stitch repeats, and then knit to the border or knit the border. So that is what those two are for, just to make it easier so you don't have to count 9 every single time. Okay, so for row 1 of the body, we're kind of starting our count over just to make it easier. We are going to have a 12 row repeat, but it's not too difficult, but you do want to keep track. So I'm resetting this to 1 because our body starts at 1. And then we're going to first knit to our marker and slip it. Okay, now we're going to have 1 stitch before our repeat. So our 1 stitch is going to be a purl. So we're going to purl 1, and then our stitch repeat starts. So our stitch repeat is going to be knit 3, purl 3. So we're going to knit 3 stitches, purl 3 stitches. Again, I've done 2 repeats on this one, so knit 3, purl 3. So you're going to do that all the way across, and you'll have 1 stitch left over before your marker. You had 1 stitch before your repeat, 1 stitch at the end of the repeat, and that's going to be a purl. Then you'll slip your marker and just knit to the end. Okay, I'm going to slide my guy so I don't forget where I'm at. Now we're going to knit to our marker again. That'll be just the norm. And then we will slip our marker once we get there. Now we'll have our first stitch before our repeat. This one's going to be a knit 1. So it's kind of what you just did. You'll knit the knits and purl the purls basically for this row. So we're going to knit 3 again because that was a purl on the last row. So you'll see we have knit again. So we're going to knit 3 and then purl 3. So we have 3 purls there, purl 3. Again, the stitch pattern repeat across, multiple 6, so knit 3, purl 3. We'll do that across until you get to that last stitch before your stitch marker, and this one is going to be a knit 1 again, and then knit to the end. Now we've got row 2 completed. Now for row 3 and 4, you are repeating rows 1 and 2. So we'll be doing knit to the marker, purl 1, knit 3, purl 3, knit 3, purl 3 over and over to your marker, and then you'll purl 1 and knit. Turn it, knit 1, knit 3, purl 3, knit 3, purl 3. So we're just going to repeat that. So I will come back at the end of row 4 and then we'll get going on row 5 where we have something a little different. Okay, I just finished row 4. Now we're going to do some new stuff. However, the beginning is the same. So we're going to knit to the marker and slip that. Okay, now for row 5, the very first stitch is going to be a knit 1. So that's going to be different because we've been purling. So now we have a knit. We're going to do a special stitch. So we're going to yarn over first, and then we're going to do an SK2P. Skip 2P. So we're going to slip 1 stitch as if to knit. So when you do that, this would be to purl. We're going to go from the left to the right to knit. So slip that. Still have our yarn over here. And then we're going to knit 2 together and then slip that back over. Be careful not to grab your yarn over since it's kind of out there doing nothing. But then we're going to yarn over and then we're going to knit 3. So those were purls below, so now we're knitting those. And that gives us that kind of twisted gathering stitch there. So again, our repeat is a yarn over, SK2P, slip as if to knit, knit 2 together, and then slide that slipped one over. And then we're going to yarn over and we're going to knit 3. So it'll be a yarn over, SK2P, yarn over, knit 3. So you'll continue that all the way across until you get to that one last stitch, and then that one's going to be a knit 1 as well. Then you'll knit to the end. And that is the end of row 5. And as a reminder, if like the SK2B, if you're not remembering the steps, I have the written pattern down below so that you can grab that and work along with it. Row 6, pretty easy. First thing we're going to do is do our knitting to the stitch marker. So always when you're looking at the written pattern, you'll see that it says that the edge stitches are not included. So this row is literally all purls. So, however, the edging is not included. So you always knit the edging, slip your marker, and then listen to the instructions, which in this case, row 6 is all purls. You're just purling all the way across. Make sure you don't lose your yarn overs as you go. So you'll purl till you get to your stitch marker, and then it's back to knitting. And after this row, we are halfway there with the repeat, so not too difficult yet, I don't think. And row 5 is really the only kind of strange row, I guess you might call it. It's the only row where we're doing anything other than really knitting and purling. So for row 6, or 7, sorry, we're going to knit to the marker, and then we're going to kind of go back to what we were doing before with just knitting 3, purling 3. So we're going to slip the marker, except we're kind of going opposite this time. So we're going to purl 1, and then our repeat's going to be purl 3, knit 3. So instead of knit 3, purl 3, now we're going to purl 3, knit 3. So purl 3, knit 3 across. And then you'll come to that stitch before your stitch marker. And that's going to be a purl. Then you're going to slip your marker and knit 9. All right, 7 is done. Okay, ready for row 8. You know the beginning? Slip it, and then we're going to do what we've done below. So we're going to knit 1, and then we're going to purl 3, knit 3. Purl 3, knit 3, all the way across to that last stitch before your marker. Purl 3. Just look at what you did below, and you're going to copy that. So knit 3. Then here's the last one. It's a knit, so we are knitting 1. Slip that marker and knit those guys off. All right, now we're ready for row 9. So rows 9 and 10 are going to be a repeat of 7 and 8. So we're doing the same thing that we did previously. So we're going to knit to the marker. Then we're going to do whatever our stitch below was, which of course is a purl. So we slip. We had 1 purl. Then we're going to do our repeat of 3 purls, 3 knits across, and purl at that last stitch before the marker. Then we're going to turn, knit to the marker, knit 1, and then purl 3, knit 3 again. So keep on going. We'll come back at row 11, where we're going to do another SK2P row. And then we'll be almost completely done with the repeat. Okay, here we are, row 11. So what we're going to do this time, we had our SKPs at the beginning. We're going to offset them. So now we're going to do our SKPs, our SK2Ps, over on the second portion of our pattern repeat. So that can kind of help you if you forget to keep track of your rows, to look, if you're good at counting stitches and knowing what row you're on. That will help you looking for those SK2Ps. So we knit to the marker, slip it, We're going to knit 1, and then our repeat is knit 3. So you see we have purls below, so we're doing the opposite. Then we're going to yarn over and SK2P. So slip as if to knit, knit 2 together, oops, and then slip that knit. And we're going to do another yarn over to make up for that lost stitch from that decrease, and knit 3 again, and do another slip, knit 2 together. Don't forget to yarn over. Forgot to say that. And then slip that over and yarn over, and then we're at the last one. You will go farther than me, but I'm already at the last one, and that'll be a knit for me. And then we'll knit those guys. Only one more row to go. So let's take a look at that real quick. So now we've got our twisties up here that are offset from the ones below. Then row 12 is going to be a repeat of row 6. We're just going to purl once we pass, or once we get to the stitch marker, or once we slip the stitch marker, we're going to purl. Slip that marker, and then purl across. And then get to the marker, and then knit back. You have successfully done all 12 rows of the repeat at this point. So what you will do is repeat 1 through 12 more times. So that will give you the same size blanket that I have noted in the pattern. Otherwise, you can make it as long as you want, and you can widen it if you'd like to. It's multiples of 6, so you can add 6 stitches to make it even wider. You know, look at your gauge and see what you get. Once you finish those 12 repeats, then we're going to do another 11 stitches or 11 rows of our border. So you'll continue on, make it however big as you'd like. Just remember 12 stitches, or 12, I keep saying stitches, 12 rows of your border at the end, and you'll bind off knitwise, and then your blanket will be complete and it will look like the one pictured. So not a difficult project, you just need to keep track of your rows, so get something to help you with that. But I hope you enjoy making it, and I would love to see what you make, so be sure to tag me. All of my socials are below. That is the Lullaby Baby Blanket Pattern Stitch Repeat. And until next time, I am Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and thank you for watching.